This is Johnny and Jose with Tiger Bomb MMA, and tonight we'll be going over UFC Fight Night, Font versus Vera, giving you thoughts, predictions, possible parlays, all that jazz. I'll first start off by breaking down the event that just happened, which was Lemos versus Andrade, giving you my quick breakdown of what I thought about the fights, beginning with the biggest fucking letdown of all time, Dingleberry versus Mike Jackson. Jose didn't watch the fight, so I'm going to break down what happened. Jose, Dean Barry looked like a fucking idiot. He looked shook in the cage. Mike Jackson surprisingly looked like I've been here before, but he completely sucked. Dean Barry kicks him in the balls once, then he spinning back kicks him. Spinning back kicks him into the balls, which like drops him to the ground. Mike Jackson's like, "Oh, my balls!" Literally. The fight commences. Dean Barry's like calmed down a bit, and then he starts landing some decent punches, and then he eye gouges Mike Jackson. That's why my name today is Dyke Jackson, because Mike Jackson knew like 100% like I'm winning this fight, and he knew he was winning this fight because he baited Dean Barry into poking his eyes. He's like, oh, winking at him like, oh, I know you want to penetrate this orifice. So he gouges his eyes. It's a DQ. Dean Barry loses via disqualification because he's a fucking idiot. I know a lot of people on the internet were talking about like, oh, if you would have bet Dean Barry on a parlay, you're an idiot. Yes, granted, but this was not supposed to happen. But here we are. Moving on, Marcin Prachnio loses to Felipe Lins. Lins looked good physically at 205. Didn't look great. Like he had trouble with Prachnio. Prachnio clearly lost 2 rounds to 1. Lynn's hands look fantastic. It's just that his gas tank was kind of shitty. I didn't necessarily like what I saw, but he got the job done. I did take him on a parlay with someone else on this card. But moving on, Arichi Lang destroys Cameron Else. Like he looks great at 135. Like he's training with Henry Cejudo out in Fight Ready. The dude looked fantastic. He actually murdered somebody, Jose. He actually beat the shit out of Cameron Else. It was awesome. Funny enough, exactly like in the picture here, he got back mount and just started raining punches just like Kyler Phillips. Moving on, Tyson Pedro beats Ike Villanueva. Here's what's funny. You see the picture of Tyson Pedro against the cage, about to eat an uppercut from Shogun. That's exactly how he finished Ike Villanueva. It was disappointing for Ike Villanueva, not because I was disappointed in him, more so because his huge fucking son, was out there with him watching him fight, and Pedro just destroyed him with leg kicks. He eventually took one that he didn't like. He fell to the ground, back against the cage, ate a nasty uppercut, got finished. Dwight Grant versus Sergey Handoskov. Pretty good fight. First round ended with both guys dropping each other. Second round came about. Fun fight while it lasted. Eventually, Sergey ends up knocking out Dwight Grant. I mean, shit. A lot of the guys coming out of like long layoffs were looking pretty good. So good for Sergey. I was not fully impressed, but I liked what I saw from him, especially after that layoff. Jordan Wright gets submitted by Marc-Andre Barriault. So Jordan Wright didn't come out looking like a berserker. This is one of the fights that I thought Jordan Wright was going to win, because I thought, he's going to come out here like guns blazing. And Marc-Andre Barriault recently getting knocked out, probably gets a chance to get knocked out again. Jordan Wright decides to wrestle with Marc-Andre Barriault, and then he leaves his neck exposed, gets caught in a nasty guillotine. Good for Marc-Andre Barriault. It's just, damn, like I expected more from Jordan Wright. And by that, I mean, I hoped he actually fought. He was just trying to wrestle, and it was disappointing. Next bout, that didn't happen. Parsons destroyed the newcomer Elder. Elder was tough as shit. But yeah, Preston Parsons looked very impressive. Next bout, Charles Jourdain defeats Lando Venata. I had Venata. Venata looked really good. The fight lasted less than a round. And what ends up happening is that Venata uses his wrestling. I will mention, Jose, I don't know if you saw the weigh-ins, but Venata looked like absolute dog shit in the fucking weigh-ins. Like his face was sucked in. He's entering the fight looking like Edward Norton from American History X. So what happens to him next, he kind of deserved, because after, I don't want to say dominating Charles on the ground, I wouldn't call it that. He controlled him. He got a high amplitude takedown. Charles gets back up. They fight on the feet. Charles drops Lando with a beautiful right counter after, I think, Lando threw a leg kick. He ends up submitting him, and I'm like, damn, Charles is not playing around. That was, in my opinion, like Lando's last shot at getting anywhere near a title. Right now, he's probably going to be fluttering around, possibly between 145, 155, and just taking fights, maybe winning some, maybe losing some. Charles, he's getting closer and closer to like contender status. He called out what's his name, Barboza, so that'll be fun. He even said like, I'm not going to wrestle you, we'll just sling it out until one of us dies. Next bout, Sumit Darji, Manel Cape did not happen. Manel Cape is on some stuff. Macy Barber defeats Montana De La Rosa. Montana lost. Macy won. That's all you need to know. Didn't happen. Clay Guida, Claudio Boyas. I have been talking a bit of shit on Claudio, but this motherfucker was phenomenal today. Like, he had Clay in a ton of trouble. He had him in Oliveira levels of threat on the ground. Like, he had him in a triangle. He went for a guillotine at one point, and then he beautifully went for a knee bar, which he got. I thought Guida was going to be savvy enough and have the veteran experience to withstand any of the attack and onslaught from Claudio. It wasn't the case. Claudio, the dude, is quite the phenom on the ground. I just don't know if it was because he was facing Clay Guida. Like, he's 40 years old, and granted, I took Clay Guida to win, but I do worry about Claudio's gas tank, so I really wished it would have gone longer to see how good his gas tank really is in the later rounds, how explosive he is with the knee bars. But damn, he looked phenomenal. Amanda Lemos, Jessica Andrade. Lemos looked good on the feet. Like, she was clearly winning and dominating that round. And then Jessica just bum rushes her, gets her in a standing arm triangle, and gets a tap. Like, she readjusted that arm triangle multiple times. And I'm thinking Lemos is just going to eventually like get out of it. Like, Jessica's not going to fully squeeze on it. She's going to try to take it to the ground. Jessica went full fucking bull dyke on her and just fucking squeezed the shit out of her head. Eventually got the tap. I was like, damn, like, that is a legendary ease that she has. So props to Jessica. I went in total 6-5. Disappointing night overall. Like, I didn't make any money, but I didn't really seriously bet anything on this card. Just a bunch of stupid multiple bum parlays. Barry ended up screwing me out of one in particular, and then my main parlay, which was Linz and Lemos, it of course didn't cash, but looking to recover some of that money. I've, funny enough, been making a killing on baseball. Like, I have not lost on baseball, but mostly my fault this week. Again, not a huge deal for me. I only lost like $40. But let's get started with the actual fight night. We've got Font versus Vera. The first fight of the night actually isn't on my cards here because it got moved over. It was Romanov versus Chase Sherman. It was supposed to happen tonight, but Chase Sherman backed out for whatever reason, which I don't know if he's going to inject himself with a shit ton of steroids to try to beat Alexander Romanov, but Romanov is going to destroy Chase Sherman. My only concern, if I had to list a concern, and granted, I don't know what the odds are if they're even out, but I'm assuming last I checked on my personal bookie was like minus 1,500 for Romanov. So if you were to take him inside the distance, maybe in the first round, I think Romanov is probably going to get a TKO. I think a TKO. I know he wants a submission, and likelihood of him getting a submission's high, but I don't think Chase Sherman's going to present much on the ground. And I guess it's dealer's choice. If you want to take inside the distance, you can, but I think Romanov just destroys Chase Sherman. But do you have any thoughts on this one, Jose? Chase Sherman versus Romanov?
Yeah, I still don't like Romanov, but I think you're right. I think he's just going to go in there and ragdoll Chase Sherman, unless Chase Sherman, tickles his taint. And then Romanov is going to go crying like a little bitch to his corner and, get the win that way.
I will add, though, in the weigh-ins, Romanov looked pretty damn good. Like, he lost some weight. He has some definition in his arms. So that's probably to combat, like, all the, shit on his gas tank. So he looked as if he has been putting in his miles in the treadmill. So I think it's going to be an easy night for Romanov. But let's move on to the second fight of the night. Tatsuro Taira versus Carlos Candelario, taking place at 125 flyweight. And currently the odds have it in favor of the newcomer. Well, I guess they're both newcomers, but the newcomer to the UFC in general, which would be Tatsuro. It is a minus 260 comeback, and Candelario is at plus 2. I had a bit of trouble finding any real background information on Tatsuro. I didn't go into like extreme lengths to really break down this particular fight. I wasn't interested in really betting it. For me, it was kind of like a dog or pass. Carlos, he's 30 years old. He recently lost to Altamirano in the Contender Series, a fight that I thought he actually won 2-1 very easily. It was a surprise that he ended up losing that, so much so that even Dana White thought the same. Dana ends up giving him a contract, and they're giving him the undefeated Japanese fighter from Okinawa, I should say. And the guy, from what I can tell, he's on the ground. People compared him to Shinya Aoki a bit. I don't think he's that dynamic on the ground, but he's very skilled on the ground. He's not the greatest striker on the feet. Like, he has really good low kicks, but mostly where his dominance would be is on the ground. Candelario, I think he's got that dog in him. I like what I see from him. He's not great either. He, of course, is making his day 8-1. They're virtually identical. 5'7" for Taira, 5'8" for Candelario. Reach advantage, I don't fully have it. Candelario is training out of the New England Cartel camp with Calvin Kattar and Rob Font. So he's going to come in here very well prepared. He's got good wrestling. He's got good ground and pound. That boy's very, very scrappy. Good takedown defense, good BJJ defense. I think he's like a worker. He's one of these guys that, like, he may not be the most talented guy in the roster. He may not be even the most talented guy in the room, but the guy will work hard. And when it comes to actually performing, he might overperform, which is why I'm thinking he might be a pretty good underdog pick. Taira, I don't know what to really think about him. I need to see more. He has beaten some pretty experienced people back in Shuto, the initial promotion where he's from, but I'm just not too sold on him yet. I know if it hits the ground, he's got a chance to, like, Aljamain Sterling guys with the body triangle, maybe even get a submission. I think for him to get a submission, it's listed very high on Tapology. A lot of people have him to win, like 90% of people do. I just don't really like the odds on this one, and I respect Carlos too much to really pick against him. I'm going to take a shot. I think Taira, based on like momentum, is going to win this one. I think he has the skill set to get the decision, but part of me is wanting to take the dog, and I want to pick him to win. I think he's got a shot, and honestly, I think if he does, will look really fucking smart. But we'll see, because Carlos, being 30, he took a bit of a layoff. He hasn't fought in about 7 months, so that's concerning. Taira, his last fight was 4 months ago. I'm just going to take a shot in the dog, but probably no bet for me. I might even potentially put a small amount on Carlos. I have a bit of faith in this guy. I just like what I see from him. I just think he's very scrappy, and he might be able to present some issues for Taira, who he hasn't really fought a Puerto Rican before, so we'll see if he gets that Puerto Rican ass whooping. But I'll go with Candelario as a dog pick.
Yeah, same here. Can't really go with these, even though some of these guys have success, kind of like, that guy, what's his name? Paddington
Bear, Patty Pimblett.
Pimblett, there you go. Yeah, I was thinking of him in rain boots and raincoat.
Dude, I love Paddington Bear.
Yeah. Well, imagine Paddington Bear with Patty's haircut.
That's
and
money.
that's what I was thinking of. There's some guys who have some hype come, and they make the most of it. I don't know. I don't think Taira. I don't see that kind of hype coming for Taira. So until they prove themselves, can't really jump on that train personally. So I'll go with Carlos as well. I think his jiu-jitsu skill should be enough to counter anything that Taira's seen in Japan. Plus, I don't, out here, they have elbows and knees and all this other shit that they don't usually deal with in Japan. Because the same thing happened with Shinya Aoki. He was he was a badass in Japan. He got to the U.S. What's his name? Gilbert Melendez beat the shit out of him. So
I did forget to mention that Carlos is a brown belt in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, like I said, his defense I think should be enough to hold him at bay. But I don't know if Taira's going to have that necessary experience to deal with a thug like Carlos.
1 second. My internet's acting stupid, which is crazy because I just got that damn router. But let's move on to the next fight taking place at welterweight. We got the debut of the White Lion, Johan. I don't know. I've heard it, Lainesse. Let's go with Lainesse versus Gabe Green. What the hell's Gabe's nickname? It's like something stupid, isn't it?
Gifted.
Gifted. This is the second gifted. We had a gifted, whatever, that other guy. But currently the odds have it in favor of, let's see,
Maybe
it's
it's
near
the other gifted.
Pick'em. We
Or
have
no,
Gabe
is it
Green, gifted Rafa Garcia. That's it. But yeah, we've got Gabe Green minus 115 comeback on Johan the White Lion. He is a minus 105. This one was kind of tough for me to break down, like to come with a direct pick because like Johan, he hits fucking hard. He throws everything hard with seriously awful, awful intentions. Gabe Green has great cardio, and I think he's a pretty solid fighter. I'm gonna probably bum rush through this one real quick. Good forward pressure from Gabe Green, aka Bobby Green's brother. Very good low leg kicks. He's very solid, but nothing really to write home about. He beat Phil Rowe, which was impressive. Phil Rowe's on a good knockout streak right now. He's got good head movement. I kind of like Gabe Green a bit. He's got like a bit of swagger with him with his head kicks, not head kicks. I'm sorry, head movement. Very smothering volume pressure. He pulled a tombstone pile driver on Instagram, so I'm liking him for that particular reason. So automatically, I'm picking him to win. And then we've got the French Canadian Johan Lainesse, who is 8-0. He's competed in, was it Cage Fury? He was a former Cage Fury champion. Yep. Came into the Contender Series, knocked out a pretty good jiu-jitsu dude out of the UK. He's a big guy. He's 6'1" compared to the 5'10" of Gabe Green. And he's going to have a 3-inch reach advantage over gifted Gabe Green. I think the guy's very slow, but he's very dangerous. He's got good hands. He's got good kicks. He's a bit awkward, though. He is what was it? I think he has a boxing background. What concerns me about this one, what I eventually wrote down is that Gabe is the faster, more conditioned fighter. Needs to be very careful with this fight because he's been finished by strikes before. And I think if Johan connects, he can actually knock out Gabe Green, who he can get touched up. He's not a perfectly defensive fighter. So I think it's either Gabe Green by decision or potentially inside the distance for Johan because Johan can fucking crack. I'm not too what's the word, high on either guy right now because if I want to go with Gabe Green, he's going to do everything beautifully. Like, yeah, he's going to be defending the punches, being the faster guy, throwing leg kicks because Johan's very lead leg heavy. And then he gets countered after throwing one too many lazy leg kicks, and Johan just puts his lights out. And the opposite, like you're predicting Johan to win by knockout because why wouldn't you? And then he gets decision by Gabe Green, who's going to just push the fucking pressure, and the cardio is just going to take over. Because of the UFC experience, I'm going to go with Gabe Green. I think he's smart enough not to get cracked by Johan. It's going to be a sweat, though, if you take him. I would say pass on this particular fight until you get to see more of either guy because I predict Gabe Green to just be the better fighter out there. And I predict him to either withstand the power of Johan, and then just grind out the decision. And then tired Johan's just gonna, accept the bottom position after the takedown. And yeah, it's gonna be a sweat, but I'll go with Gabe Green reluctantly. I think he can edge out a decision. I wouldn't say I'm not taking Johan inside the distance. I might potentially do that particular bet just for funds, but Gabe Green by decision should present some good value there. But it's a tough one for me. It's a really close one in my opinion.
I'd say flip a coin. You can't go wrong. It's going to be a close fight, but I am actually taking Johan. Finally, a spelling I can agree with. Unlike Johannes, Johan, Johan, how the hell they spell that? That isn't Yohan. Kind of like how the WWE decided to spell Sheamus. Spell it out for people. Shemus, because they figured the American crowd was going to be too stupid to pronounce, the correct spelling of Sheamus. Anyway, for those WWE fans, which probably aren't here, I'm going with Johan here. I think he'll be the longer. I think he'll use his reach, and I think this will be kind of like, to a certain extent, like Stylebender versus what's that guy's name? The guy who drank wine.
Paulo
Costa. Yes.
Great Instagram from that guy.
Like Wino Costa.
Did I say Instagram? Twitter. His Twitter's fantastic.
Yeah, I think it'll be similar to that fight. And before I forget, Lando Venata. I think we're looking at the 150-pound for Eagle FC champion in Lando Venata. I foresee him, getting a pretty big contract with Khabib and being their 150-pound champion. They're going to create a weight class for Lando to become a superstar. And also, congratulations to Jessica. I know you went through that pretty quick, but before I forget, I just want to congratulate her. I hope she gets more OnlyFans subscriptions. She deserves it. I like her pics, by the way. They're pretty classy, I want to say.
All right, let's move on.
Yeah, moving on.
Because I gotta admit, these fights are like fucking ridiculous because they're scraping the bottom of the barrel, but they are giving us a fantastic main event. But next bout taking place, is it welterweight? No, lightweight. We've got Mike Money Breeden versus Nathan Levy. This one's like, damn, what a bitch. Currently, the odds have it in favor of Levy, minus 210. Like, are we going to fall for that trap again, boys? And Mike Breeden is a plus 175. So break it down. Levy's very athletic. He's very pretty in there. Like, he throws everything when he's on point, he throws everything beautifully. Like, especially if you're watching tape on him on Instagram when he's hitting pads, he throws everything so nice. Like, oh wow, he's so gifted and technical. But when he's in there in the cage, you're like, what the fuck is he doing? He's so sloppy. His boxing is kind of poor. His kicks are fantastic though. Like, he's got fantastic kicks. He's a black belt in karate and kung fu. Beautiful spinning back kicks and spinning techniques. But he overswings, as we saw with not Gabe Green, gifted Rafa Garcia. He kept overswinging in things, and it was like, dude, stop overswinging. Just chill out. Pick him apart from the outside. Pardon me. And he just let me down. And I'm not certain if he's going to keep doing the same mistakes. He's only 6-1, and he's fighting a guy out of a great camp. Admittedly, Nathan Levy is fighting at a Syndicate MMA, but when it comes to Mike Breeden, he's tough. He's got decent boxing, decent movement. He's very scrappy himself. What did I write? He needs a crowd Levy, essentially, it, because Levy's going to be throwing a ton of kicks, and I think he's got the ability to win this fight. It's just, I don't know if I feel comfortable enough saying that he's going to win the fight because he's not very athletic, but he's very tough. He can move forward. He's got good body work, good ground and pound. He's not athletic, but he's like, as I mentioned, he's very tough. He'll move forward. Fighting out of James Krause's gym and Glory MMA and Fitness. So James Krause, if he gets the right fighter, he can just create the perfect game plan to defeat them. Levy has shown weakness on the ground, not fully out of place there, but he's shown weakness to just losing a decision, right? There's a way that Mike Breeden can win this fight via decision, possibly even finishing Nathan Levy. It's just that Levy, being the more athletic guy, I think is going to present issues for Mike Breeden. If Mike Breeden comes into this fight with a six-pack, I might reconsider, but he's kind of got that, like, a little bit of flab on him. I don't know, man. Like, I think I'm just going to go with Levy right now based off of, being the more athletic fighter. I think he can actually use his kicks and the issue with over committing to a punch can be corrected. If he's the more technical guy in here, I think he can finish Breeden or more than likely win this fight by a decision. I'll go with Levy. I'm not confident in this one at all. Live betting situation here because if Mike Breeden can take an ass whooping up front and then come second and third round, if Levy shows any signs of fatigue, I think Breeden can really beat the shit out of Levy. That's what I'm worried about is like, hey, Levy looks fantastic the first round. He's throwing kicks and then he gets tired or whatever. His legs get fucking hurt from kicking the shit out of Mike Breeden. And then come second and third round, he's just huffing and puffing and Breeden just picks him apart. But I'll go with Levy regardless. Not confident. I'll pick him to get his first UFC win.
I'm actually going with Breeden here. I'm gonna go with the guy that doesn't, that really doesn't look like an MMA fighter. He looks more like my barber, to be honest. And the guy who's like, hey, Chuck Liddell's haircut is pretty cool. Let me try that on for size. Yeah, I don't know, man. He's this is another kind of coin flip fight. Another one I think you should stay away from. Even though, let's see, Tapology, has Levy at 90%, or I should say 90% of the votes are coming in for Levy.
You know what's interesting, Jose, is that I wrote down, I forgot to mention this, but I think there's a huge perception that Mike Breeden sucks. I think that's why people are just automatically going with Natan Levy. Like, I don't want to have, like, I'm very much so a guy that goes against the grain. Like, I would want to go with Mike Breeden just like you did, because like, fuck the majority of people. I think Mike Breeden's a decent enough fighter. I just don't trust him. But I do think he's a solid fighter. It's just don't underestimate the guy is what I'm going to say. Like, don't put Natan Levy in all your parlays because I think Mike Breeden can fuck him up.
Yeah, this is a fight that's going to fuck you no matter what. I mean, this is a fight where you're going to be stuck in the middle. Somebody's going to be ramming you from behind, and then you're going to be sucking some cock in the front. So regardless, you're going to get fucked either way. So don't get in the middle unless that's your thing, and enjoy. But yeah, this is not the fight. This is not the fight to bet nor include in any of your parlays. I mean, he did lose to Alexander Hernandez.
Short notice.
He got caught, I would say. So I don't think he had enough time to really show what he's got. So I think giving him this chance, I don't think Nathan Levy's. Not to say that Alexander Hernandez is like way up there, but I don't think Nathan Levy's even on that level. So I think Mike Breeden is going to have a chance to show what he's really got. He's not that over the hill, I want to say. He's only 33 years old. So he's still got a few years left to kind of make some money, hopefully, and do something in the UFC. And I think this is going to be the beginning of it. So I'll go with Breeden here to get the decision. I don't know if it'll be pretty or not, because both of these guys are pretty down there. But it should be fairly entertaining, I hope.
Moving on. Ooh, baby, what a fight between these two dudes at 125. And I say that sarcastically. We've got Daniel De Silva, Miojo, a.k.a. Ramen Noodles, which right off the bat, I'd love to pick him just for that. And we've got, what did I write down? It's Francisco Figueiredo. Oh, Frankie Figs. Good old Frankie Figs. Yeah, the lesser Figueiredo. Currently, the odds have it in favor of, let's take a look, dead even, -110, -110. And I think that should explain to you, do not touch this fight, because it essentially comes down to the fast starter that is Daniel De Silva. Very fast, very aggressive, good kicks, pretty shitty defense when it comes to like boxing. But the guy's got slick jiu-jitsu. The guy hits hard. Again, he's very, very aggressive. Bit of a front runner because if he can't get you out of there, it doesn't look well in the later rounds. His fight against El Jefe, Jeff Molina, I actually picked him to beat Jeff Molina. And for a second there, like as I was getting breakfast that morning, I'm watching it on my phone, and I'm like, we got this shit, baby. Like plus money on De Silva because he takes his back and he's going for the rear naked choke. And I'm like, damn, this guy's so fucking slick. He goes for the armbar, and then he doesn't get it. And then Molina starts ground and pounding him. that wasn't fun. He got hurt pretty bad, and then at the end of this, in the actually the beginning of the second round, he gets dropped, and it did not look good for him in that particular fight. He got really messed up by Jeff Molina on the ground, like after the ground and pound, and I did not like what I saw from him. Like he looked outmatched, and I was worried at that point. And I'm like, I don't know if I can trust this guy not to get. How can I put it? You know how Derek Minner just goes ball to the walls in the first round, and if he doesn't get the sub or he doesn't get you out of there, he just gets tired and he just kind of allows what happens to happen. I feel like that would be the same with Daniel De Silva. There's talks about him really being the best version of himself now. I just don't know if I can trust him to not do anything stupid like a Derek Minner front run. For Figueiredo, he's the lesser Figueiredo. He lost to Malcolm X Gordon, for fuck's sake. He doesn't do much, but he does have power in the left hand. What else? Good jiu-jitsu, but not overtly dangerous, not as dangerous as Silva is, but I think he can control position better than De Silva. De Silva's just more submission over position. What else do I have here? He's all right. He's patient. It's, I guess what I wrote down is specifically, it's not really what Figueiredo does to win the fight. It's more so what Daniel does to lose the fight, which is like, God damn, I don't even like saying that because it just makes me weary about even thinking about putting any money on either guy. So for that particular reason, like I want to see more from De Silva. I'm rooting for the guy. I like the guy. I think he's very fun to watch, but I think unfortunately, I think Figueiredo wins this one. I fucking hate to say that. I think he can find a way to slow down the pace, and I think if he can counter De Silva, it's going to hurt him. And I think Figueiredo gets on top of him, maybe even gets mount. He doesn't even have to go straight for a ground and pound at that point, or even a submission, but he'll control for a bit, kind of tire out De Silva, and then eventually either get the TKO or the submission, whether it be early in the round. I mean, early in the round, Figueiredo's got to be very, very careful. I just don't think he can get finished by De Silva that quickly. I think his jiu-jitsu's good enough not to get subbed, and I don't think Figueiredo's got like a chin issue. So I will go with Francisco Figueiredo. I am hoping, though, that I'm wrong, and De Silva comes in here looking fantastic, great at cardio, and just destroys the lesser Figgy. But I'll go with late round TKO for Figueiredo. It's just Daniel's fun to watch, but he hasn't shown as of late that he can compete with UFC caliber fighters, and Francisco's barely a UFC caliber fighter. So I'll go with Francisco to win this one by third round TKO.
Yeah, a lot of these guys I think would do better in Bellator, to develop.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, that's a big conversation for another day. Like which fighters would, be highly ranked in Bellator versus kind of super lowly ranked in the UFC.
Fucking Enrique Barzola running through competition in Bellator, and it's like, holy shit. Was he always this good, or just the Bellator competition is just that bad? And it's like
it's kind of 50-50. You have to be like, you have to look at like, whoa, Kevin Lee could have been a champion and all these others, bottom of the barrel leagues, had he just chosen, to do so. Instead of getting his ass whooped by, medium to high level talent in the UFC. And actually, I originally thought Miojo was Littlefoot, because he's De Silva's Bigfoot's little brother. So call him Littlefoot, like kind of like that movie Littlefoot. I don't know if you ever saw it, but anyway,
Land Before Time.
No, it's called Little. I think it's called Littlefoot.
Is it the dinosaur movie? Animated?
No, Littlefoot. Is it Littlefoot? It's called.
Oh,
kind of like Bigfoot.
I got you.
It's little.
I think
it's
a more
like
recent film.
Yeah, it's a more recent animated film where like Sasquatches, they take in a human, and he's like, "Whoa, look at his little feet."
It stars what's that fucking guy's name?
I don't know. I'd have to look it up, but
Chandler.
Anyway,
no. Well, yeah, whatever.
I'm actually going with De Silva here, just because I don't know if this lesser Figueiredo I don't know if he's going to be good enough to beat the Silva. Not that Silva's great, but
Channing
but
Tatum. It stars Channing Tatum.
okay,
Yeah.
probably. I think I saw like parts of it or something at some point. But anyway, that's what I thought. I was like, the Silva, Littlefoot. He's the lesser Silva. But anyway, apparently he's not. He's the big Silva at 125 pounds. I think he's younger. He's got more going for him. And I keep thinking of Figueiredo or rather, for some reason, I keep associating Francisco Figueiredo with what's that? What's Gilbert Burns' brother? Dexter Burns or something?
Giblert
Yeah,
Melendez.
Giblert.
Oh,
No,
Herbert
Burns.
Burns. I don't know
Herbert
why I
Burns.
thought
Yeah.
about Gilbert Melendez.
I'm just
Herbert
thinking. I'm just
Herbert Burns. Yeah.
equating. Yeah, he's like like the lesser Burns and the lesser Figueiredo, so, to a certain extent. Anyway, yeah, these guys, I don't think belong in the UFC. So I think De Silva's young enough to, maybe he's got a chance to improve. And my dyslexia took that as ATT, not ATS team. So I thought, oh, okay, great, he's training with ATT, but I was like, no, it's ATS. But my brain kept insisting it was ATT. Anyway, so yeah, so I'm going with De Silva. This is a coin flip fight. You should stay away from it. Again, if you like getting rammed and then second cock at the same time, and maybe getting your taint tickled, by all means include this in your parlay. Take out a mortgage and whatever. But these, I would say last. Well, by the time you listen to this, it'll be last week. But today's card, the Andrade card, as well as this card in general, are not good betting cards. I know the need, where it's like, I gotta bet, man. I gotta bet on something. It's like, hey, you think you think the weather's going over 75 degrees today? Put $100 on that. There's that need when you have to bet that, you know what I mean? But yeah, this is, yeah, I'm pretty sure there's better things to put your money in, but yeah, do not bet on this card. Probably not. Unless you're willing to lose that money, because you said you went 6-5, and I think I went the same, if not
Mhm.
worse, on this week's card for Andrade. Unless I went 6-6 or maybe 7-5 or whatever the hell it was, because I think I had Andrade in the main event, right?
I think
If I
so. Yeah.
recall correctly. But I think that was maybe one of the only ones because Guida, is it Guida? Clay Guida?
Yep.
Yeah,
He lost.
he's done, man. The caveman. The caveman is done. So anyway, I don't want to spend too much more time on this. I'll just take Silva, just because.
Next bout, though, you're going to spend all your money on because it's Gina Mazany facing Shanna Young. And get this, guys. Shanna Young is an underdog. She's plus 135. Come back on Mazany, minus 155. Ooh, boy.
Tell me I'm crazy, but does that look like Kat Zingano with a puffier nose?
I think you're crazy. Oh, boy. All right, let me just get through this. I'm going to go with Shanna Young, mainly because, God, Mazany sucks. Both these girls aren't good. 7-4 overall record for Shanna Young. I don't think, no wins in the UFC. Gina Mazany 7-5 in the UFC. One win in the UFC against Rachel Ostovich, a girl who was completely undersized. God, man, just having to break down tape on these girls, I was more impressed by Shanna Young in her fight against Macy Chasson. She's got the karate background, very beautiful left high kick. She did quit against what's her face, Stephanie Egger, and I say she quit because Egger landed like a beautiful elbow, and I think she turned and covered her face like she was done. And then after the fight was called, like she got butthurt that it was called. I'm like, yeah, it's on you. You quit. I'm going with Shanna Young just because I think Gina Mazany is one of the worst fighters in the roster. Granted, I think she has ways to win the fight. Of course, with the wrestling, your striking's terrible. Striking defense is god awful. I think Shanna Young, granted, she fought Stephanie Egger, who is a judoka, high level judoka, so there's no shame in losing there. And Macy Chasson, she's a big, strong girl, so you can cut her some slack. I'm going to actually take a shot on Shanna Young as an underdog. I think she's going to actually finish Gina Mazany in the second round. So call me crazy. I'll go with Shanna Young via second round TKO.
I'm actually going with Gina Mazany here, and I think she's going to win by suplex. I think she's going to suplex Shanna Young, kind of like older Kat Zingano did against, what's her name? The other goat that's still in the UFC?
Nunes.
Nunes, yes. Yeah, it's weird, man. I thought, oh wow, Kat Zingano, like from the little picture, or I guess when I was looking at all the fights for the card, I was like, oh wow, Kat Zingano's back. But nope, it's new Kat Zingano, Gina Mazany. So I'll just go with her for the hell of it. This is another fight you should probably stay away from because it's women's MMA. They're both over 30. They both have terrible records. Unless you get it curls your socks to watch two girls with horrible records barely go over 50%. Extreme couture. Yeah, so let's move on. There's nothing to talk about. Nothing to see here, folks. Oh wait, that's the last prelim. Yeah.
Yeah. So, as always, like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. Jose, could you read that comment in front of your screen right now?
Yes. If you watch and don't sub, you have a micro penis or enlarged clitoris. Both are bad.
Indeed. So, but yeah, make sure you like, share, subscribe. Let's get started with that main card. Andre Fili taking on Joe Anderson Brito. Fight taking place at featherweight. Currently, the odds have it highly inflated for Andre Fili, roughly floating around minus 190. Come back on Brito as a plus 145. I like this fight. Great fight to start off the main card. Brito, his last fight in the UFC, his debut was not great. Lost to Bill Algeo. He looked, I don't know if he was like scared or the jitters got to him, but he was having success on the feet, but he kept choosing to wrestle. And I'm like, dude, you're having issues with the tall, lanky, Bill Algeo. Why do you keep wrestling? But the guy can crack, man. He's super fun. He's a swanger and a banger. What else do I have on him? Bad fight IQ, powerful striker, grappler, likes the ground and pound. He's very good, not great. Andre Fili, on the other hand, the guy's 5'11", so he's going to have that height advantage over Brito. His last fight, it could be because he fought Daniel Pineda, but he looked like he was finally putting things together. The guy's 31 years old. He's not a kid anymore. He's finally hitting his like overall prime. It's like he's unlocking the final gate of chakra to unleash his full potential. Maybe he just needed an extra tattoo. Who the fuck knows? But he seems to be putting things together very well. And the guy's an absolute killer. He is hittable, though, which is concerning because with those odds, you're kind of tempted to take Brito by knockout because he hits fucking hard. He's a small guy. He is going to have a 2-inch reach disadvantage, but he throws a lot of power with those hooks. What else do we have here? I mean, I just frankly think Andre Fili, this is his fight to lose. I like Fili to win. I think he can actually finish Brito in the later rounds. He's going to have the better cardio. I think his wrestling is going to be good enough to withstand the onslaught of Brito. I mean, this is a guy that was defending takedowns against Bryce Mitchell, even getting his own takedowns on Bryce Mitchell. If I remember that correctly, I think he did get one. And training with Team Alpha Male for years, I think he's very well prepared for a guy like Brito. It's more so don't get knocked out because, Fili hasn't been knocked out in a while. I think the last time he was finished by knockout was by Yair Rodriguez with that jumping high kick. But man, I just think right now it's Fili's time, and I think he's going to be touching up Joe Anderson Brito on the outside. But it's not as simple as that. I think Brito's very, very live because I think it's going to be a dogfight. But I think Andre is going to be the one who comes out on top. I think he's going to be landing the more straighter, powerful shots. He's going to be keeping Brito on the outside with like heat kicks and like kicks to the face, like front kicks to the face and that jab. And then Andre Fili can switch up the stances. I mean, he is susceptible to leg kicks. Those kicks that Pineda was landing on him were pretty substantial. Like they were causing some issues with just a slight amount of issue for Fili, but then Fili ended up beating the shit out of him. And then, it ended up being a no contest after the eye poke. But I'm not fully committed into saying that Fili's going to win this one. I think there's a very, very good chance that Brito wins it via knockout. It's just the reason I say that is because despite Brito losing that fight with Algio, he's clearly losing. He still has that like dog in him to try to finish the fight. And if Fili is feeling comfortable, Brito has a chance to capitalize. But my pick will be Fili. I think, again, as I mentioned, I think it's his time right now. I hate saying shit like that because like I worry about, Fili succumbing to shit he should be good at defending, like takedowns. Like he gets taken down and then Brito holds him there. I'm like, dude, you should be better than this. I'm expecting his takedown defense to be very, very good. He's been drilling fucking takedown defenses for years against the cage, outside the cage, double leg, single legs, whatever. But, I always worry about that. I'm like, damn, Brito took him down. What the fuck? Get up, Fili. And then he can't get up because Brito's so fucking strong. I don't think that's going to happen. I'm going to go with Fili. I'm going to say third round TKO. I think he batters him into the point of like, no mas. Third round TKO Fili.
Yeah, I'm actually going with Fili well. As you mentioned, I think this is his fight to lose. For some reason, when I think of Andre Fili, I think of Yancy Medeiros. In that they could have been so much better, but they've been giant letdowns. And
well, Yancy just won his fight today.
Well, I mean, letdown in the sense
of
he can do shit in the big, on the big stage. So he's gone to the equivalent of TNA or AEW, and he's quote unquote big star there. I don't know why, but I always thought, oh, Andre Fili, he's a brother, from the island. But anyway, don't have much, if anything, to add. Joe Anderson comes from a respectable shoot the box gym. But Andre, does train at Team Alpha Midget. So he's got, if he doesn't have the greatest offensive wrestling, for sure they're drilling, defensive wrestling into them because they can't, if they can't take him down, then that's wasted energy on their end, and they got to be drilling that shit into them. And so I think that's going to come in handy. He's got to use his distance against Joe Anderson to not get the shit knocked out of him. But yeah, man, this is another one where I'd say just sit back and enjoy it. Don't worry about who's going to win or not. Rather, in the sense of don't worry about betting on it. Because the even some of the even a lot of the fights on the pay-per-views just have that kind of iffy feeling, where you have it where, it's like maybe when you eat bad Alfredo pasta or something and you're still in the restaurant and your stomach starts gurgling, that's the kind of feeling that I get on these cards when I think about placing a bet on them. It's like, I don't know, man, something's either it's going to be a shit decision, fighter's going to be a dumbass and lose how he's not supposed to, judges are going to fuck him over, the ref's going to fuck him over, they're going to have a bad weight cut. I don't know, man. There's just something that, you know what I mean? You get what I'm saying? Kind of like with Lando.
Well, funny you say that because the next fight, I feel exactly like that. I'm like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I don't know. There's just a feeling where it's like, you know what? That's your body telling you like, yeah, don't shit your pants, but also don't bet on this fight. And that's that's kind of how I look at all these. I'm pretty sure they're going to be better matchups in the sense of, we're going to clearly see a winner that where the odds aren't too crazy that you'll be able to make money off of. But I'd say don't let that, don't let the degenerate in you take over and just be like, you know what, I'm going, and try to try to kind of force the issue. You know what? These $100 are going to win me, X amount if I bet on Fili or whoever the fuck you bet on here. Again, I'm going with Fili because it's his fight to lose. But then again, if we remember Rockhold Bisping 2, that was Rockhold's fight to lose, and he fucking lost to a guy with one fucking eye.
Yeah.
So
It's
anyway,
a good eye, though. It's a really good eye. But let's move on. Yeah, Jared Gordon versus Grant Dawson taking place at lightweight. Currently, the odds have it in favor of Grant Dawson. Is a minus 150 comeback on Jared Gordon is a plus 125. So when you mention that whole gurgling feeling in your stomach, that's how I feel about this one because fuck, man. Like, this one is a judge's decision, really. Like, I think it's going to go to a decision. I don't think Grant Dawson is going to completely dominate Jared Gordon on the ground to get a submission. And I don't think Jared Gordon's going to keep it on the feet and knock out Grant Dawson. I think it's going to go like this. I think Grant Dawson's going to win 2 rounds, the first 2. The second one's going to be super fucking close because after a while, Grant Dawson does tend to slow down. That is my biggest damn issue with him. Like, he's a dominant wrestler, but he has cardio issues, despite the fact that he's training with, James Krause and whatnot. Yeah, glory hole. Well, shit, fucking Lorosenko trains there, so maybe I need to go check it out. But yeah, his striking's improved, but it's not great. As I mentioned, nasty grinder on the ground. Gordon, on the other hand, I have some respect for the guy. He's a tough dude. He actually cashed me out against Selecki. He made me look smart. I picked him to beat Selecki. And this is very much similar. Like, he has to have a very similar game plan here. Like, be on the offensive when it comes to the wrestling. Don't just accept the fact that you have to take or do a, what do you call it? You have to stuff the takedowns against Grant Dawson. And on the ground, I think his jiu-jitsu is good enough. I can't remember, he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu himself. He's got good cardio. He's a tough guy. He's going to have the better striking. He's a very tough, well-rounded fighter. So he's got a chance to win. My thing is, though, Grant Dawson's just a much, much better wrestler than Joe Selecki. And I think he has better ground control than Joe Selecki. And what I wrote down here is that Dawson needs to dominate all 3 rounds to fully confirm his victory. If he doesn't do that, there's a chance there could be a split decision. Dawson is a much better wrestler. Gordon can outpace and out cardio Grant. Needs to, what do I have here? Repeat the Selecki performance. So I don't trust either man. Even saying dog or pass, I'm not even confident in saying that. I think Grant Dawson is much better on the ground when it comes to the wrestling and the control, but his cardio, I believe, will fail him. And just like with Ricky Glenn, it failed him in the 3rd round, and Ricky put it on him and nearly finished him with a choke. So much so that Ricky was like pointing on the ground, like, "Hey, look at him, he's fucking out." And he's like, "Oh, what?" Like, you know what I mean? That led to the draw because it was a dominant performance from Grant Dawson for the first 2 rounds, and then the 3rd round was a 10-8 in the favor of Ricky Glenn. And that's not to say like, oh no, that makes Grant Dawson a shitty fighter. It definitely doesn't. I mean, he's good. He's a good fighter. His cardio just leaves me to believe that he is never going to go over that hill becoming like top 10, because despite him being so good grappling wise, that cardio fails him. And I don't think his striking is on par to strictly win on the scorecards with his striking. And Jared Gordon, as I mentioned, he's a dog. He's got a way to win this fight. I don't like it. I think it will go all 3 rounds to an over 2.5 for sure. Fuck. I said the same thing about Jordan versus Lando, and see what happened. It's a tough one. It scares me to think that if I were to go with Grant Dawson by decision, he does something stupid, or Jared Gordon gets him to the ground and controls him there for like not even half of the round. I mean, just like the later end of the 2nd round, and the judges end up giving him the round. And then you're feeling confident going into the judges' scorecards. Split decision, 29-28, Grant Dawson, 29-28, Jared Gordon, 29-28, Jared Gordon wins by decision. So you'll be like, fuck, I'm worried about that particular scenario. I'm going to go with Grant Dawson. I do believe he has a way to win this fight. Just stay dominant. Don't let that wriggly bastard on the ground, get back up, or reverse you and you win at least the two rounds. Not confident though, but I'll go with Grant Dawson. I think he will do enough to win. Jared Gordon, third round. If you're huffing and puffing, Grant's gonna have a horrible time because Jared's like, he's gonna go out there. He's gonna have the better cardio and he's gonna be looking for blood. And I think he's got a way to beat Grant in the third. I just don't think he's going to actually finish him in the thirds, but I'll go with Grant by a very, very close decision.
I'm also going with Grant here, and that's because the way I see this is, your pick, or depending on who you pick, I think the likely outcome is if you pick Jared Gordon, if your pick is Jared Gordon, then likely outcome is going to be maybe a knockout, TKO, or very possibly just, 3 dominant rounds on the feet, right? Or at least 2 rounds on the feet, 2-1. If you go with Grant Dawson, then you're going to look at, going over the round and a half, most likely. Having him, just dominate with wrestling at least the first 2 rounds. But there's always the possibility that he might get worn out in the third, get caught, fight ends in a, TKO, KO, whatever. So there's always those possibilities. But as far as what I see most likely happening is Grant Dawson getting that 2-1 at the very least, if not all 3 rounds, depending on how tired they both are, in that third round. And if you can get a takedown and just kind of lay on him, then, whatever. But this one's also kind of, I can see where you're getting that they didn't cook that out, that Alfredo sauce doesn't taste fresh feeling in your stomach after a few bites, And so, I'll go with Grant Dawson by decision, getting that round and a half, unless these fuckers make the prop, 2.5 rounds.
Oh, yeah. I really doubt they're not going to do that.
I don't know. It's, they could do it to fuck with the public. Not that this is a big fight and they're like, oh, yeah, we're going to win a lot of money on this fight. It's not a big card anyway, so. But I wouldn't put it past those sneaky fucks.
Well, let's move on. Middleweight bout between Gerald Meerschaert versus Krzysztof Jotko. Currently, the odds have it in favor of Jotko, minus 170. Come back on Meerschaert, plus 130. Actually, plus 140, my bad. This one, again, it's like, God, what the hell? Like, it's a fun fight. Like, it could even be fight of the night potential, just based on what Meerschaert does. But, Jesus, like, they're so kind of hard to break down because Meerschaert, he's always live for a finish by the submission, like all-time leader at middleweight, if I remember correctly, with the submissions. Dude is kill or be killed. He's got, a 3-fight finishing streak, which includes in it likes of Bartosz Fabinski, Mahmoud Muradov, and Dustin Stoltzfus. As for Krzysztof Jotko, he's not a full threat anywhere. Like, he's just a solid decision guy, good cardio, good movement. Recently beat Misha Serkinov by split decision. Got beat by Sean Strickland recently. It's virtually identical when it comes to like the physical attributes. 6'1" for both guys, 77-inch reach for Jotko, 77.5 for Meerschaert. Meerschaert is going to possess more power, more fight-ending capabilities, either submission, knockout or whatnot. Beautiful body kick, left body kick to the liver. The guy is really good, but he is, of course, very chinny. Despite the fact that he hasn't been finished in some time, he is still chinny as fuck. He's been cracked a couple times. Even in that fight with Muradov, he cracked him almost to the point where he was looking done, but he's got good recovery. He's got fucking great warrior spirit. Despite the fact that he's like wobbling, he will try to still finish the fight. If Krzysztof Jotko, who's not really known for, the knockouts, I think he's still a big dude. He can possess the type of power to hurt Gerald Meerschaert. I think he can still crack him enough to make Meerschaert kind of wobbly. Meerschaert's gas tank isn't the most reliable. I know if you were to judge his gas tank based off of his last fight with Stoltzfus, which I recall being like a short notice fight. It did fail him, but it didn't matter. He was still very dangerous and still got the submission in the third round. It's a tough one for me. When I first heard about this particular fight happening, I thought Jotko. I think Jotko's movement and just overall skills, like he's so good. He's just not great everywhere, and I think he's good enough to beat Meerschaert, who is great in multiple different areas. But if he does slow down and his cardio fails him, you know, I think Jotko's clever enough not to get submitted. I mean, I think it should be known now that you should always put a small bet on Meerschaert by finish. Just even if, like, the best way to hedge a Meerschaert fight is just select Meerschaert by finish. But I'm going to go with Jotko to win this one by decision. I think he does enough to edge out the rounds. I think he's a very good decision fighter, and I don't think he'll get finished by Meerschaert. I think he'll survive any horrible spots that he's in. If he doesn't, he doesn't. But I think Jotko can survive enough in the first round, and then after the first round, he'll just kind of coast by doing his breakdancing moves. Plus, he has a Vegeta tattoo, so that counts for something. So I'll go with Jotko by decision.
Yeah, I'm not going with Meerschaert, man. Ever since he got embarrassed and in turn, it was embarrassing to watch getting knocked out by Ratlip. Yeah, it's not, haven't looked forward to any of his fights. That and the fact that in like a regular conversation, let's say if we were, just sitting around somewhere and you're like, hey, did you shit your pants? No, it was a Meerschaert. Anyway, when that's, when something like that, can't go with you. I think I'm gonna go with Jotko. Meerschaert is no bear Jew, I think Jotko's gonna whoop his ass.
I wouldn't say whoop his ass.
Yeah, man, he's okay.
He's gonna 29-28 his ass real good. He's gonna remember that 29-28.
For Poland, that's considered whooping ass. So, but yeah, I think he's gonna come out on top here. But anyway, I hope my joke translates and people understand what the hell.
That you Meerschaert himself.
Yeah, it was a Meerschaert. Anyway, that's dedicated to Norm Macdonald.
All right, let's move on from that. We've got at what fucking weight class? I always forget the weight classes. Featherweight, we've got Darren the Damage Elkins versus Tristan the Pereira Slayer Connelly. Currently, the odds have it in favor of. I wouldn't be surprised if, Darren Elkins minus 145 comeback on Connelly is a plus 120. This one, man, all these last fights, man, it's like they're making us go through the fire in the ringer to get to the main event, because the main event is fantastic. I actually want to talk about the main event. For this one, it's like a 50-50 type of coin toss fight. Darren Elkins is the better grappler. He's got the better cardio. He can sustain a shit ton of damage. Recently got knocked out by Cub Swanson, but it's Cub Swanson. Like, the guy, although they're both old, when they first fought, I actually had Elkins to survive. He put it on Elkins, man, and that's what always concerns me about him, despite the fact that he can take a punch, that he can take an ass whooping, and that he can come back, and he's got that tenacity and that dog in him to just keep going forward and trying to win. If he takes the right amount of punishment from, it doesn't matter who the fuck it is, whether it be Cub Swanson, fantastic striker, or Tristan Connelly, who's not the best striker in the world, all it takes is the right type of pressure on that chin, and you're no longer the same fighter, which is always a concern when it comes to Darren Elkins. But he's so damn tough. And what I wrote down for him, toughness, wrestling, and cardio is what has been winning him a shit ton of fights in the UFC. But he's very slow, very hittable. Tristan Connelly, on the other hand, he destroyed Michel Pereira at 170, completely demolished him. I'm surprised Michel Pereira is even the same. And by demolished, I mean Pereira just flipped around the fucking cage, gassed himself out, and eventually gave up a decision win to Tristan Connelly. That is the biggest highlight in Connelly's UFC career in general, beating a guy 2 weight classes above him, it counts for something. I can respect that at the very minimum, despite it's not very impressive within its own right. It's just, he had the balls to take the fight. He ended up winning it somehow. But at 145, I think while watching his fight with Sabatini, DC literally says he was at 170. He was able to take shots there because, of course, he's got a full belly. Brain is filled with beautiful, beautiful oxygen and water. And then he takes a clean shot from Sabatini, and then he drops him. And I'm like, oh, shit, that's concerning. I mean, Connelly is not a huge threat anywhere. Like, he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. His striking's decent. It's just Elkins has taken a ton of damage. So whichever side you feel comfortable with, it's not, I'm not going to personally say, or you're taking Tristan Connelly, what an idiot. It is what it is. I will personally go with Elkins just because, like, Connelly hasn't really shown anything extraordinary in the UFC, even outside the UFC. He's an okay fighter. Elkins has the experience. It's just, don't get hurt. I don't think he will. I don't think Connelly possesses that kind of power, but it really doesn't matter at this point. They're both relatively up there in age, 36 for Connelly, 37 for Elkins. I'll go with Elkins by decision. Fuck it. I think his wrestling is going to do enough. It's going to be a sloppy dog fight, in my opinion. So I'll go with the biggest dog here. I'll go with Aaron Elkins.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be a sloppy fight. And being that it's a sloppy fight, even though Elkins just got KO'd 4 months ago, I think that favors him. All right. Just did a few reps with the kettlebell with my big 10-pounder. Anyway, got to get ready for all these crackheads in the area. Got to keep ready, I should say.
It's not a joke either, is it?
No, not a joke. Got to watch your back because you're basically alone out here. Police aren't going to do shit. Nobody's going to watch your back but yourself. Anyway. And the other thing is, just saw the latest. Not sure if you ever were a fan of Sons of Anarchy or even the spin-off show Mayans. I was and am. And I just saw the latest season, and one of the episodes, I saw the guys doing, what are those fucking things called? Burpees, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I haven't done a push-up in a while, but I'm not there quite yet, so I'm just doing a few reps to kind of, keep ready for when these crackheads, because you never know. They're all over the place, man, on the Citizen app. Anyway, that explained, I wasn't jerking it, that's what you guys would fucking comment. That's not why I'm out of breath. I was doing some reps. Anyway, also going with Darren. Darren, he's I don't know if I would say a super fan favorite, but I do enjoy watching him just because when things get crazy, he's in there. You know what I mean? He'll what's the saying? Something on your shield, fall on your shield, fall on your sword.
Going out on your shield.
Going out on your shield. Yeah, that's Darren Elkins, man. And I'm hoping he wins. Not really big on either side, just because his chin is suspect, because he did just get knocked out, not too long ago. So there's that, which is worrying. So don't bet on this fight. Enjoy it. I'll be rooting for Darren Elkins as well.
Next bout at heavyweight, we've got Andre the Pitbull Arlovski versus Jake the Prototype Collier. I think we've done the prototype joke too many times because he's fat, and of course he's a prototype, because why would anyone buy that toy, the fat toy? We want the muscular toy, the He-Man. Imagine if He-Man, the toy He-Man, came out in the 80s and he was the prototype was Jake Collier's body. You'd be like, yeah, return that shit. We need something better. But currently the odds have it in favor of, you guessed it, Andre Arlovski, minus 135. Comeback on Jake Collier is a plus 115. So I thought about even doing this, Jose, when it comes to like my initial thoughts on fights. Like I kind of feel like doing this in the future, just doing a video of like my initial thoughts, no tape watch, who I think is going to win. And then if and when we do the actual official predictions, give you my thoughts as to why I have solidified that particular pick or why my opinion has changed. And the reason I say that is because I initially was on Jake Collier minus any, tape watch, because despite him being, a bigger dude now at 100, he was at 185. Now he's, heavyweight. He's not terrible. Like, he just beat Chase Sherman. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, wow, he was able to do that to Chase Sherman. He surely can do that to, I guess, just Chase Sherman, because that's what Chase Sherman does. He beat him up on the feet, took him down, submitted him, which is like, okay, that's impressive, but it's Chase Sherman. Is he going to do that to Arlovski? I don't think so. My initial reaction, though, was like, oh, Jake Collier is fighting Andre Arlovski. Jake has a good chance of knocking out Arlovski. He hasn't been knocked out in quite some time. I think the last person to knock him out was Jairzinho Rosenstrike years ago. After that, we've known Arlovski to go on his world tour of the bare minimum Arlovski, where he's more defensively responsible, and he doesn't have a whole huge amount of output. He does just enough to win the fights. He has huge moments in the later part of the round, like overhand rights, So Jake Collier has that chance to like move forward and maybe crack Arlovski. I do fully believe that. I do believe Jake Collier, out of the last two people that have fought Arlovski that should have done that to him, for example, Chase Sherman apparently was supposed to do that. I didn't have confidence in Chase Sherman. He landed some good shots, but nothing devastating. Carlos Felipe, I think I really didn't expect him to beat Arlovski by knockout. And then, no, not even Jared Vandera. Who was it? Tanner Boser was supposed to go in there and knock him out. I think Jake Collier, out of all those guys, has a good chance of actually doing that. So you might take a shot on Collier inside the distance. Probably round number one. After round number one, Jake does tend to slow down, and at that point, it becomes an Andre Arlovski fight. If Andre can survive the first round, which at this point, he's so damn crafty and such a veteran that the money play will be Arlovski by decision. If you've taken Arlovski by decision in your last, 3 fights, that's a lot of fucking good money. So I'm not going to stop that. I will take Andre Arlovski by decision. I will be putting some money down on Andre Arlovski by decision. I can't wait to see the line on Andre Arlovski by decision. I still get that nagging feeling, though, that Jake Collier is pretty live for a knockout. As I mentioned, I think he's more of a threat than any other guy that he's fought, minus, of course, Tom Aspinall, who submitted him. I mean, any one of those lower level guys. And Jake Collier is kind of hovering around that area, like lower level heavyweights, but he has a good skill set to potentially catch Andre off guard and finish him. But I think Andre is just too damn crafty, too much of a veteran. Dude, I remember watching Andre Arlovski in Strikeforce and people saying he was down and out, he wasn't going to come back. I remember watching him fight on my phone. I had to stream that shit, him versus Anthony Johnson at heavyweight. I've seen a lot of Arlovski. I've been a fan of his for quite some time, and just seeing him still fight at 40, 43 years old and having success is like, it's a good feeling of like, damn, you back a guy who was being told he wasn't going to make it in the UFC again. He comes back in the UFC, has very good success. And then again, he has a horrible stint where he lost like 5 in a row. Then he comes back, and then, just to see him on a 3-fight win streak at this age is like, it's a good fucking feeling. So when I say Jake Collier has a chance to knock him out, I truly believe that's a possibility. But overall, just knowing that he slows down, Arlovski's that vet, he's going to take this one by decision.
Well, I'll say this. Andre Arlovski versus Jake Collier, anybody who's seen a few of these previous Arlovski fights, this fight has already happened. Arlovski versus Carlos Felipe, Arlovski versus Tanner Boser, Arlovski versus Felipe Lins, Arlovski versus Ben Rothwell, Arlovski versus Junior Albini. This fight has already happened. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Multiple times. And this is Arlovski's fight to lose, even at this age, even at this stage in his career, which is, we're on the last steps of the of Arlovski's career. This might be his last fight, kind of like Tyson Fury or whatnot. Who knows? But I think Arlovski, if he gets this win, I think he deserves. I don't know what his contract looks like or how many more how many more times he plans to fight, but I think he deserves like one more big fight. You know what I mean? Big name, big paycheck, maybe a rematch against what's that guy's name who fucking bitches about not having the title, Stipe Miocic.
Yep.
I think maybe a big fight, big fight against that guy. He deserves it. Arlovski's a gem, man. We should appreciate every single every time he's in there. He's not going to be in there for too much longer. And so anyway, yeah, so we've already seen this. Arlovski's going to come out on top. He's going to get that decision. And Collier, he's going to question, he's going to sit there and contemplate his life, while he's kind of crying in the shower and, with Twinkie wrappers all over him, But
dude,
yeah,
it's crazy to think that, like, I didn't even break down like the stats, but they're the same height, 6'3" each.
Yeah.
And Jake Collier has a 1.5 inch reach advantage over Andre Arlovski, who's the natural heavyweight, and Jake Collier fought at middleweight. It's like, what the fuck? Doesn't look like it. So I'm curious to see when they face off, if that is accurate.
Think of it this way. For any wrestling fans out there, Braun Strowman and Kevin Owens weigh the same. They're both heavyweights, but the weight is just distributed a lot differently. Andre, he's his weight is distributed, throughout his body, you know what I mean? Arms, legs, torso, whatnot. Jake Collier, it's kind of in the middle, you know what I mean? Kind of in the middle is where all his weight is distributed. So, different center of gravity, different cardio, because even now, Arlovski, he's got great head movement, great timing, great footwork, you know what I mean? It's if anything, maybe Arlovski, deserves to go a few rounds with Tyson Fury, in an exhibition match.
I wouldn't want to do that to Arlovski.
Well, no, dude, it's going to be Arlovski's big payday, man, dude.
Yeah,
that's what I mean, because they're apparently going to give it to Ngannou, which is cool.
Is there going to get embarrassed? Is there a stipulation that Arlovski can't get hit in the head? Does he have to wear he has to wear a protective gear? Because I don't want to. What's $1 million good for if you're fucking a vegetable for the rest of your life?
No, I mean, we're not talking like Arlovski Fedor money. We're talking about Arlovski Tyson Fury money. So he's gonna.
They're gonna replace his brain.
Probably get a few million, and maybe throw in, maybe include a nose job for when he's retired. Fix that guy's nose, man. He deserves it.
Damn. It's crazy though. If you really go back and look at his pictures and model Arlovski, this fucking George Michael looking motherfucker, probably banging supermodels. And now you look at him and he looks like not necessarily a completely different person, but he looks like a fucking badass. Like if you were to compare the pictures, you'd be like, who's fucking who? And you're like, well, yeah, obviously the guy with the crooked nose is the top.
Yeah. Yeah, man. He's he doesn't get as much publicity, as much credit as he deserves, man. He's a national treasure, man.
Yeah, dude. I for whatever reason, I've always had a soft spot for Arlovski. Like he's always been one of my favorite heavyweights. Period. Whether I don't know if it's pity at one point, it evolved from he's getting knocked out, people are calling him done, and now I'm just like, hey, it's fucked up. And now to see him winning, it's I don't know. It's a good feeling to see him win, especially at that age.
Yeah, to me, I would equate it to like Robbie Lawler's comeback, after he came back into the UFC and kicked ass. And the only thing I feel bad about is that Arlovski didn't win the title again.
No, it wasn't going to happen. ever.
Well, I mean,
I
no, I'm
mean, I
saying
know we
I feel
wanted that really bad, right? But
it's
ugh.
if what's her name, the shoe face, the female shoe face beat Nunes, then yeah, who would have said that would have been possible,
Yeah, but
Um,
that's women's MMA.
yeah. Well, no, that was just Nunes. She's been coasting for quite a while now. So, but anyway, yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah,
let's move
Arlovsky,
on. Let's just
Arlovsky.
move on to the main event because like we'll spend time talking and sucking off Andre Arlovski. Main event of the evening: Rob Font versus Marlon Chito Vera, 5-round main event at bantamweight. And currently the odds have it in favor of Rob Font minus 145. Come back on Vera plus 120. This fight again, super fucking intriguing. Very good fight. 5 rounds for Marlon Vera. He's been bitching and bitching about wanting to fight someone for 5 rounds. He called out Aldo for 5 rounds. Funny enough, Rob Font got Aldo for 5 rounds, and it did not go well for him. And what we know about both these guys, well, funny
Yeah.
enough, if you pay attention, it's actually Aldo's fists hitting both of them in the pictures. That's looks like a left jab landing on Rob Font and a right hook landing on, or right uppercut landing on Vera. Yeah, these are the battle of Aldo's children because Aldo, there's a good chance he's fighting for the belt against Sterling. But like, I would like to take my time with this one because it's such a good fight because we've got two very good fighters in a main event. Like, fuck, Rob Font, fantastic boxing, coming out of a good camp, New England Cartel. He's a great fighter, right? He's got very good, well-rounded skills, great jab, like fantastic jab. He's willing to wrestle in there. Like he was wrestling Aldo for a bit, took him down, surprised him, and God, I can't wait to talk about Marlon Vera because Marlon Vera is a fucking madman. The thing about Rob Font, I'm just gonna cut to the chase with this one. Like Rob Font's so good, I think he can win this one by decision, just staying on the outside, being the better boxer. He will be the better boxer in there, better, cleaner striker in the cage with Marlon Vera. What with Marlon Vera, on the other hand, and to be honest, before I start breaking down Marlon, my initial thought was Rob Font's got a good chance to win this one just staying on the outside, using his proper shot selection and touching up Marlon. Marlon, he's I don't know how to explain it to you without giving away my overall thoughts on Marlon or kind of being a dick, but he's kind of like an unpolished gem in there sometimes. Like you see all the potential that he has, but he just doesn't put it together. And I think as of late, I think he's coming into his own with his style because frankly, Marlon doesn't give a fuck about anything in the cage. Like he doesn't care if you're going to take him down. He's still going to throw leg kicks. He doesn't care if you're a better boxer. He's going to come in there and make it dirty. He doesn't care if you have more power than he does. He's going to beat the shit out of you. And that's like a quality of Marlon Vera that's like he may be an underdog. He might be losing the entire fight. He might even still lose the fight, but you know that at certain points of the fight, he will be close to finishing you or getting closer and closer to doing so. And the dude's always a live dog. He's a rabid dog in that cage. He's one of the few guys that like you just have a bit of confidence in him, knowing that if you put money in his favor or you take him at chalk or at dog odds, preferably dog in this situation, which I don't think his dog money is going to stay there for very long, and he's going to move over to the favorite. But he will fight for your money every time. So he's never been finished before. And what I like about Marlon, and I think you kind of understand where I'm going with this and why I'm picking him to win. This guy, as I mentioned, doesn't fucking care. Like he could get jabbed up by Rob Font, and he'll be fine with it. He doesn't break in there. Like he's comfortable losing all the rounds. He's still gonna do what he's gonna do. He's still gonna find a way. And now he has 5 rounds to do his business. He could be losing the first or the second round or even the third round. He's like, I still got 2 rounds because he's so confident in himself and he doesn't get deterred. Like you see some fighters when they're losing, they go after the finish because that's their last hope. like, hey, I'm down 2 rounds, I have to get a finish in the third. He doesn't do that. He's very composed, and he's like, I just keep doing what I'm doing, and then I will find it eventually. Like, he's confident in himself. And one thing that I noticed against with Rob Font when he fought Aldo, he looked starstruck in there. Like, he was so worried about what Aldo was going to do that he didn't perform to his best. He was outlanding Aldo in the first round. He was being a better aggressive, more well-rounded fighter in the first round, but you could tell that he was waiting for Aldo. Aldo wasn't doing much. Aldo was just kind of biding his time. He was comfortable in there. Aldo was confident in himself and his skill set. And Font, I don't know, obviously, if this is his actual mentality, but just looking at his eyes, what his eyes were telling me were, why isn't he doing what he normally does? And he was waiting too much. Like, he didn't feel comfortable winning the fight because he didn't know what was going to come back at him. And in the first round, he ate a nasty shot that put him on the ground. And it's like, there's what I was expecting. And then afterwards, he was a bit scared to really do his best. Marlon isn't going to have that issue. Marlon's going to keep going forward. And essentially, I think Rob Font can be broken. And I don't say that in a disparaging way. It's just more so like a mental thing that he might have. I don't know if he's seeing a psychologist, but to me, that was a mental fuck up when it came to Rob Font. I think Rob Font could have beaten Jose Aldo, but he waited too much. He was just too worried about what could happen. And as I mentioned, Marlon doesn't even think that. He's kind of empty-headed in there. He just comes in there, no worries, like, I will find a way to finish this fight. He's going to have great kicks, great cardio. As I mentioned, he doesn't get discouraged. He's a mean bastard. He'll talk shit to you in the cage. He's just there for business, and his business is to beat the shit out of you. And Marlon enjoys that. He's training with Jason Perillo, of course, for years. I like Marlon Vera as a dog. And as much as I think that Rob Font, if he can put on a picture perfect performance in this fight, it doesn't take much for Marlon. It could be the fifth round and he's down 4-0, and Marlon can find a way to win this fight. I don't think it's going to be as simple as Rob Font just staying on the outside using his jab to keep Marlon at bay. Marlon is going to move forward, use dirty techniques inside the cage. And I don't mean dirty like, eye gouging and shit. I mean, he's going to be like dirty boxing, throwing elbows, fucking knees to the body. The guy's got a great chin too. Rob Font's been cracked before. He's been dropped. I think Marlon, despite the fact that he doesn't have the greatest knockout power, he's got the type of power that will, what did I write down? He breaks people with his power. It's like, he hits hard. He's not going to knock you out clean, but it's like, holy shit, I don't want to get hit like that again. For me, I think Marlon Vera wins this fight. I think he's clearly the way to go for me, just because, even again, if he doesn't win, he's going to fight for your money. The fact that he's going to fight for my money, I'm more comfortable in taking him opposed to like going with Rob Font, who I don't know if he can go 5 rounds with a guy like Marlon Vera. I think Marlon's going to be just so fucking intense in there that Rob Font is going to second guess himself just like he did with Aldo. And I don't want to take that chance. I mean, again, Rob Font, if he's clear headed and he goes out there and performs like he should, he has a good chance of beating Marlon Vera. But Marlon doesn't give a fuck about anything. He's going to go in there and do what he has to do. And the guy is so tough. The guy, God, I sound like I'm sucking him off here, but shit, he deserves it. Like, man, if he gets this win, it's going to be impressive. And I see him winning this one. It could be inside the distance. I'm going to go with Vera round number 5 TKO. I think he's going to gradually break down Rob Font, and he finishes him later in the rounds. Good chance it can go to the scorecards. We'll see how this goes, though. Like, I'm very high on both of these guys. I think they're both very talented. It's just that Chito Vera, that fucking Frankie Edgar fight, man. That's what I go back and I see. Like, this guy could be getting outclassed, getting out grappled, and he's still throwing kicks at Frankie Edgar, knowing that Frankie Edgar wants to take him down. He's like, I don't fucking care. Like, your game plan isn't going to dictate what I do. What I do is going to dictate what I do. And I respect the shit out of that. As a dog with dog money, damn, I'll go with Marlon Vera every day. So Marlon Vera, 5th round TKO.
I think you still have a little frosting on your cheek there, man.
I don't know, dude. I wasn't going with Marlon, but like after watching some of his tape, I'm like, I think this is a very good tailor-made fight for him. Like the perception is Rob Font's just cleaner. This isn't going to be a clean fight, and Marlon Vera is going to make it fucking dirty in there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go with Rob, just because I think he's yes, Marlon is the dirtier fighter in the sense of he gets dirty in there. He doesn't mind getting dirty. Not that he's a cheater or anything like that. Ooh, I was doing a few more reps. I wasn't sucking off any of these fighters. But Rob, I think he just has a cleaner, more, a cleaner technique, kind of like how you're saying. I think he has better footwork, but Marlon Vera does have those low kicks. He has Marlon Vera has the Muay Thai, where Rob has the boxing and the footwork. Marlon Vera does have some ground game, I want to say, but working with Joe Lozon, Rob has to have some defense at least. He's not a big, submission guy, right? He doesn't go out there and fucking. I mean, he has won by guillotine. Let's see. Not a lot, not a lot. Yeah, he has lost. He's lost by guillotine.
He's got a good ground game. It's not great. It's just more so that he focuses on the hands. But he's got a guillotine here or there. He's not out of his realm.
Yeah, he's clean. I think they're going to be. I think this is going to go the distance. I think they're going to be tied 2-2. I think Rob's going to get the first 2 rounds, and then Marlon's going to get the second 2, and then they're going to have to make the 5th one exciting. Otherwise, I think Marlon's going to take the momentum from getting rounds 3 and 4 into 5 if Rob lets him. I think this is Rob's fight to lose, because if he gets the first 3 rounds, then fuck it. He can cruise the last 2 for all I care. Not that I'm going to bet any money on this fight. I think this is a pretty close fight. So that being said, I'm actually going with Rob. I don't like Chito Vera, and not because he beat Krusty the Clown a while back, but because he thought he was on Aldo's level when he's not. Aldo, another legend, man. And Aldo proving he's. Dude, I just double checked the rankings, and I'm like, fuck, Aldo's number 3. He could very well challenge the Funk Master. You know what I mean? And actually beat him and become champion again.
Oh joy, that'd be fun. Oh god, that'd be cool.
I hope they give him the matchup. I mean, because yes, they could still match up Aldo versus Sanhagen, Dildo Shaw, Dominic, Rab. There's a bunch of guys that they could match him up against, but giving him the title shot, dude, that'd be insane. And him winning, holy shit, that'd be awesome. That'd be good.
That'd be a good retirement moment. Like, I'm done. Like, yeah, he can eat all the burgers he wants now.
Yeah, for sure. So I'll keep this short since I know it's late there for you, and I don't have anything else to say. Besides, I'm going with Rob. I don't like Chito. I don't know, man. He just rose me the wrong way. He's. I
understand.
He just kind of thinks.
I get it.
Thinks he's. He just kind of flicked my taint how he wasn't supposed to, and then that never sat well with me.
Question for you: who do you dislike more, Chito Vera or Bilal Muhammad?
Chito Vera.
Wow.
I got nothing against Bilal or Muhammad.
I'm in the opposite camp. Funny enough, Marlon reminds me of my uncle.
I guess I should speak for the channel. We have nothing against Bilal Muhammad or Bilal. However the hell you guys want to, if there are sound bites out there, we, have no comments, nothing against them. But, Chito Vera, fuck that guy.
I was saying, like, Chito reminds me of my Uncle Junior, like, very similar. They talk the same. They're both mean dudes. Yeah, they're fucking assholes. But, like, I don't know, something about Chito. Like, Chito, I don't know, man. Like there was a point where I'm like, this guy's kind of a dick. Like I don't really like him, but that's just like who he is.
Yeah.
He's just a piece of shit type of person. Like personality wise, like if you piss him off, like oh fuck, you're screwed. Like, but I like the guy. Like he seems like a fun, genuine person. But it just so happens to be that it's the type of person that if you were to step on his shoes, he'll like beat the shit out of you. But no, man. Like I get it. But let's move on to possible parlays. This fucking card, I got none. I got absolutely none that I really like. The only guy I can think of is maybe Arlovski, and ooh, I'm not super confident in many fighters on this card. They're
Romanov?
very close. Oh shit, Romanov, yeah. Yeah, but Romanov isn't listed yet, and he's gonna be like a minus fucking 15,000. But
Might as well
inside
get
the
that. Might
distance,
as well. You might as well get those extra 3 cents
yeah,
on
inside
your
the distance,
parlay.
perhaps. Like I don't want to do any props for these parlays just because I'm like I don't fucking know. I don't trust them.
Yeah.
But if let's just say I had an infinite amount of money, and if I were to lose that infinite amount of money, they would just refund me back. My parlay would consist of Andre Arlovski. I will go with Andre Fili. I'll take Shanna Young. I will take Marlon Vera, and that's all I'm willing to do. Those four. So plus $1,091. Let's just say $1,000,000 gets me a lot of zeros. But yeah, I
Hmm.
don't know, man. Like I'm not a too big of a fan of this week when it comes to betting. But for sure, I think I'm going to take Arlovski at decision. Those prop odds. I will take a shot on Marlon Vera straight. I think this might be one of the very few times I don't go full retard and go like stupid parlays. Like I usually bet like very small parlays, like $5, $10. If I feel very confident on specific fighters, typically not necessarily favorites, but like for example, like I had a good feeling that Felipe Lins was going to win today, and I parlayed him up with a couple different fighters. I just didn't feel comfortable enough to like bet him straight. Like I didn't want to put that kind of money for a good return. I just said fuck it, I'll just bet $40 worth of dumbass parlays, and had Dean Barry not pulled off a big stunt like that, I would have been sitting pretty. And even then, like I don't regret betting Dean Barry. It's just that like if he hadn't, I poked the fucking dumbass. He probably would have won. It's just it is what it is. Sometimes things like that you don't really expect. I know sometimes you think it's a debuting guy. They're both very low level, but do you really expect him to eye gouge him and kick him in the dick twice? Not really. Like you just don't see that happening. I would have been better off had he lost. I would have been funnier. Like okay, it's my fault, but this guy literally lost by eye poke. But no,
In
I do
his
like. Hmm?
in his defense, you got to give it to him because he was styling and profiling. Woo.
But I just like the straight bets this week. I like Arlovski. I like. I'm probably gonna do Shanna Young because I said I was gonna do Shanna Young, and I do like Marlon Vera. So two dogs, and of course the pit bull, who is also a dog. What do you have for this week, if you have any
Yeah,
idea?
this is slim pickings.
Yeah.
I'd say Rob Font, um, Arlovski, Grant Dawson. Yeah, stay away from women's MMA. Um, and probably Romanov, even though Romanov is still a piece of shit.
Well, with those three, because Romanov isn't included, plus
Yeah,
365. So
yeah,
yeah.
that's. I mean, if you again, if you have to go, if the degenerate in you is forcing you to place bets, keep them light. You know, there's keep them light. You know, find better things to put your money into. Find the next dog e coin. I don't know.
Doge.
Dogecoin. Dogecoin doesn't sound right to me. It's how it looks, and what it looks like to me is dog e coin. Right? Fucking dog.
Funny enough, I actually
Um,
have a couple Doge coins myself that I completely forgot I bought for whatever fucking reason.
oh, nice,
Yeah,
nice.
they're not
This is
doing so
recent.
hot. No, this was like
Oh,
about a year ago or so. I don't know why.
Ah,
I'm
shit.
like, fuck it, I'll buy into the meme.
Well, yeah, myself, I'm looking to get more actively into crypto and get into all that shit. NFTs, I don't know. I think it may be a little too late for that, but you got to look into, see what the new trends are and get into that kind of shit,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm looking to get into now. I'm also looking to, well, I'll probably say it off there, but
Yeah.
bang bang.
Oh, okay.
And
Right
yeah,
on. Well, that's been Johnny and Jose Tiger Bomb MMA breaking down UFC Fight Night Font versus Vera. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, follow Discord, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram. And as always, before I leave you, fuck Olberg.